Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. We are here with some really special guests today. Thank you so much to Ian and Catherine for joining us. Hi there, how are you guys?
Hello.
Super. So we've already got lots of people joining us, so thank you so much to everybody that's joining us on Facebook. We're really excited to be talking about this subject tonight. I have to be honest, I have to rein myself in here and try not to talk too much because it is a topic that I love to chat about. I'm very excited, and tonight is all about Kilimanjaro and talking about everything that you would need to know about the trek, what to expect, what the experience is like. So let's get started straight away. Catherine, tell me, what are your first impressions as someone that hasn't yet been to Kilimanjaro but wants to? What are your first impressions? What you're feeling about the mountain?
So firstly, it would be that I'm slightly scared. It's quite a big mountain to climb, for starters. But I guess I heard or saw photographs of it about 3 years ago. So it's been building up for quite a while, and now I'm just very, very excited to get up there. And every time I see photos or watch videos and things of it, I think it's the different terrain and different habitats that you're going through and the different ecological zones you go through as you go up. That's it's very, very exciting. I've got no idea how to pack for it though. Yeah.
That is completely normal. It's very, very common to be a bit overwhelmed by it.
I will be taking lots of notes of what you say as well.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ian, we've trekked there together. It was 3 years ago now. What would you tell Catherine as someone that hasn't yet done the trek before? What kind of tips and advice would you give her straight away as someone that's interested in the mountain?
I think a few things. I think take as little stuff as you can.
Yeah.
I think I probably ditched half the things which were in my kit bag when I went to the airport and actually on the trek. I think probably just try and take it slowly and just absorb the atmosphere and the experience. I mean, it's just probably one of the most unforgettable weeks of my life, to be honest. And do what the porters and the guides tell you. I still remember preparing for summit night, and Antipas, our head guide, said, "I'm one of the slowest guides on Kilimanjaro. I'm also one of the most successful. You do as I say."
Always good advice.
Absolutely. One of the things I think, Ian, you'll agree with me on this, that you hear so much when you're on Kilimanjaro is pole pole, which is the Swahili word for slowly. And that is so important.
Yeah.
You're not a race.
Exactly. And Catherine, I think both yourself and Sarah, you've both travelled to areas of high altitude before, haven't you? You've done Machu Picchu between you and I think Everest Base Camp as well. So you're kind of familiar with the altitude concept. We'll talk about that a little bit later on this evening anyway, but you know already that walking slowly is not just a great way for acclimatization, but it's also a great way to enjoy the experience as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Ian, what's it actually like then, having been there, actually having conquered Kilimanjaro? What's it like?
Well, it's just such a great variety of experiences. You start off and you live in the town of Moshi, and then up to the gate going into Kilimanjaro and through the lush forests, and then you break out into the clear skies, and then the final the summit morning, which is something else entirely different, and just so much building up to that. And it does get quite overwhelming, and then just still remember seeing the sun rising over the whole of Africa, and you really do feel like you're on the top of the world. And both in the spiritual, emotional, the physical sense, and then all over fairly quickly, and they get you down the mountain as fast as possible. So yeah, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
How would you say? How would you say that it compares to other types of treks that you've done?
Different. I mean, I'm trying to work out what was harder, this or Everest Base Camp or Falcon Trail Trail or Annapurna Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very different experiences. I mean, I think with Everest Base Camp you don't quite get the wow because you're going along a long valley and sort of through towns and villages, and you only get sort of sneaky peeks of Everest until you do the summit after Everest Base Camp. With this, actually, you get that sort of achievement of actually feeling like you have actually got to the top of somewhere, and probably far more variety. I think probably physically it's probably more of a challenge than Everest Base Camp. I think Everest Base Camp felt more of a gradual slog and a sort of endurance test. Whereas this, it's sort of actually a proper physical challenge. There's the scramble up the Barafu wall. Although seeing the porters carrying all of your gear up there makes me actually, I'm not whinge about a bit of a scramble because I'm not having to carry sort of great big tents and kit bags and food supplies and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very, very different experience, and certainly from my perspective, it's one of my favourite mountains that I've climbed. Oh, I've just lost Catherine. Hopefully she'll be able to come and join us again. It's just a very, very special experience, and there's a kind of feeling on the mountain, this kind of almost like a family feel, with the guides and the porters and the staff, and it's just this amazing camaraderie that you get when you're there on the mountain, and it's so joyful even when it's a really tough day. It's still this amazing feeling of being kind of welcome and part of something whilst you're there on the mountain. So we've got a few people have said hello on Facebook. So hi there, Colin. I'm glad to see that you've made it on time. It's wonderful for you to join us. Alan has mentioned that Antipas is an awesome guide. I'm not sure if Antipas will be joining us this evening, but he is certainly an excellent guide. We love him. David is joining us, and Lucy as well. She's saying hello to my cat, which is just sat on my lap right there. So Molly says hello back to you too. So what we're going to do now is just quickly run through the itinerary and kind of get a feel for what it's like day to day, show some pictures and just get into it. So I'm hopefully going to share my screen. Let's see if I can. Bear with me. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully you can see that there. There should be a PowerPoint on the screen. So, where are we? Okay, so going from the beginning, we've got, of course, the travel to Tanzania in the first place. So traveling from London to Kilimanjaro International Airport, which is in Tanzania. It is a beautiful flight, often a sort of indirect. Oh, sorry, I've managed to lose the screen. Let me try that again. Here we go. We should be able to see that now. Yeah, so it's a really great flight across. You've got these amazing views as you go from the second leg into Tanzania, and that picture you can see there is through the window of the aircraft looking onto Kilimanjaro. At that point you're descending towards the airport, and you're about the same altitude as the summit, which is an amazing experience, flying across sort of the equivalent altitude as the summit. The day you arrive into Moshi, which is where you have free time to explore the local town. It's a kind of a small sort of transport hub mainly that people stay before the actual trek begins. Ian, do you want to share kind of anything about your thoughts on Moshi, your first impressions? It's quite an unusual place to be, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it was my first experience of being in Africa for a start, and sort of it's not your average city, certainly. I didn't do any of the sort of going into Moshi to the Zara market or anything like that. I sort of I think by the time I finished, I was quite happy just to relax by the pool. So didn't really get the full Moshi experience. But it's really sort of buzzing and vibrant, and sort of probably not what we're used to in this sort of cities and towns in the UK.
Absolutely, I completely agree. It can be quite overwhelming, I think, the first time you go to somewhere like that. And I think a lot of people kind of have this sort of concern about big cities and towns in Africa particularly, but it's a really friendly place, and there's never a shortage of opportunities for souvenir shopping, as you can see here on my wall. And it's just a great place to start and end the trip, in a comfortable hotel before you kind of get out there onto the mountain and start the trekking. So back to it. We will continue on after a briefing with the local guides that evening and have welcome dinner with your team. We'll find out about what is going to be happening for the next couple of days before a good night's rest, and transferring the following day about 45 minutes drive to the gate where you will start the trekking. So the route that we take on our treks is the Machame route. And this is a 7-day route that takes you up to the summit and back down again. And it is a really, really fantastic opportunity for acclimatization. We'll talk about this in a bit more detail later on, but it gives you a really, really fantastic way of acclimatizing, and the best opportunity to make it to the summit. You will, as I say, take a 45-minute drive approximately to the gate, which is where you will meet the rest of your team. And you can see from the photograph here the amazing group of porters and your other guides that will join you and support you on the mountain. Your cooks, very, very important. And everything kind of gets gathered together. All of your kit is gathered together. It's all weighed out so that each of the porters has an equal load. And then you continue up, to the beginning of the trekking. So I'm not sure, guys, can you see my screen? Am I successfully sharing this?
I can't see it.
You can't? Okay. Let me just have another go at sharing it. There seems to be a bit of an issue. Let's try again. Okay. Any better now?
Okay, yeah.
You can. Excellent. Okay, let's get back to where we were. So, we will start the trekking through the Machame Gate and into the jungle. Like you said, Ian, you start off, you are kind of in this amazing eco zone, this lush green environment, really, really beautiful. It kind of feels like you're walking through Jurassic Park or something. It's quite incredible. And it's a very, very slow and gentle pace that you do. And I think that first day of trekking, a lot of people feel that it's too slow almost, and why aren't we moving faster? We're still at low altitude at this point. It's about 2,600 meters altitude. It's very, very hard to kind of rein your pace in. You're enthusiastic, you want to get going, you're excited to be there, and it's very, very slow. Ian, would you agree with me that you are very grateful for that slow pace a few days after?
Definitely, yeah. And sort of I think it is very easy to get carried away. And I think obviously you don't get much of a view on the first day, and everyone's wanting to see what's ahead and sort of all of that. So yeah, just definitely slowly.
Absolutely, yeah. So as we continue up, we maybe, if we're lucky, get a chance to see some of the local wildlife. There are lots of wonderful creatures and flora and fauna that lives there in the mountain. Potentially some of the primates that like to look out for stray bananas sticking out of your day pack pockets, so keep your eyes out for those. And also the amazing kind of the flowers that you can see. The image that you can see there on the screen is one of the flowers that only grows on Kilimanjaro, and Patience Kilimanjaro, and it's a really beautiful kind of trumpet-like shaped flower with these beautiful vibrant colours. And when you spot one, it kind of feels like, oh wow, we're really here in this wilderness, as it were. So it's a really, really wonderful thing to spot. As you continue on, it begins to get kind of further into the day, get a bit peckish, and stop and have lunch. Kind of a picnic lunch outside somewhere in the forest, in a shaded spot, which is a really, really nice place to have a bite to eat. And then you continue up to camp for the night. So it's your first night on the mountain. It's a long day of trekking the first day, about 7 to 8 hours, but you kind of emerge into this clearing, and all of a sudden you can see in front of you your tents. You can see this amazing dining tent that you can see on the photograph here, which inside you can see there's popcorn, there's biscuits, there's hot tea. It's a really lovely way to enjoy, coming into the camp for the first evening. Now, a lot of people want to know where you want to stay, what you're sleeping in. You're sleeping in comfy 3-man high altitude tents, so it's pretty comfortable for camping. You can see they're good quality. Ian, what would you say the views are like when you open your tent in the morning? Is it spectacular, or is it kind of dull? Tell us about it.
Oh, absolutely amazing. And then sort of normally sort of getting some ginger tea, sort of and a bowl of water, sort of popped underneath the door of the tent, sort of great way to wake up. I was really lucky because I had a tent to myself, so it was actually probably sort of palatial. I think it's probably fair to say, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing better than waking up with a knock on the tent to a porter standing there with a hot cup of ginger tea in the morning. It's a great way to wake up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So another question I think is hot on people's minds, so we'll get this out of the way pretty quickly, is about maintaining personal hygiene and also about toilets. So I'll just briefly skim through this. As Ian mentioned, hot water is provided for kind of washing your hands and face every morning and before meals in the evening at campsite as well. There are no showers on Kilimanjaro, so this is a true adventure travel experience. You're going to be wanting to take baby wipes with you and kind of keep as fresh as you possibly can along the way. It's quite nice being au naturel. Everyone is kind of in it together. It's lots of fun, and trying to make one bowl of water go as far as you can is a good challenge, part of the challenge, I would say. And very, very quickly, I won't spend too much time on this, about toilet facilities. Let's just keep it simple and say that they are very, very basic. On the Machame route, they've done a lot of work to improve the toilet facilities, but there are some very, very basic facilities available. You can see in the picture there the wooden hut. That is indeed a toilet hut. It is literally a hole in the ground, covered by essentially a wooden shed. It's simple, it's basic, we all do it. It's part of the fun and the experience. But Ian, what we did, we opted to go for a portaloo, didn't we, that we took up a mountain with us. And it was absolute luxury, yeah, exclusive to our group. We all chipped in, and we hired a portaloo that was taken up for our group. We had a specific team of porters that carried the portaloo up with us. They cleaned it, they maintained it, and they were very, very well tipped at the end of that that trip. It was a very, very welcome experience. So that is certainly an option if anyone would fancy doing it. Let's move swiftly on back to the itinerary. After your first night on the mountain, you head up a bit higher to 3,840 meters. So at this point, you're kind of going up into high altitude. It's a really amazing experience. I'm not sure if you remember it, but you leave the campsite and it's almost like there's a line where the trees stop,
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. Everything opens up and you can see the sky finally, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's just breathtaking. And I think, it's a challenging day, and it's a long day. There's lots of really steep parts today, as you can see from the terrain here in the pictures. Lots of kind of really rocky, rugged slopes that you have to tackle. So you kind of dig deep and really get into it. But it's a really, really meaty challenge. And having the opportunity to get into that different eco zone is really exciting. It just kind of keeps each day interesting and inspiring. So it's about a 6 to 7 hour trek and approximately 800 meters of altitude gain. So you do really come out of that forest and up into this new zone. And some of the spots that you get to stay and enjoy on this trek is just fantastic. You can see here, this is the campsite that you stay. If the weather's good, you can see all the way across to the second summit of Kilimanjaro, which is in the mountain, in the background of the picture there. The clouds beneath you, which is just amazing. It's like you're sleeping above the clouds, which is really, really special. And it's just a really great place to go to sleep and wake up the next morning. So the following day, so your day 3 of trekking, you're going to be coming up to about 3,950 meters to your next camp. So it's only slightly higher in altitude than the previous night's trekking. And like I mentioned at the beginning, this is one of the really important things about this trek and this route that we pick, is about making sure that the acclimatization is super gentle. So what we do is we do what's the phrase is to trek high and sleep low. So on this day we have an amazing acclimatization opportunity, and again, as you come out of the campsite, the landscape changes yet again, and what was these kind of weird sort of trees and strange foliage comes to these sort of bushes and almost like artificial flowers, really delicate flowers, much lower, much rockier, much drier, alpine kind of environment that you approach. You can see here from the pictures, and in the background of that photograph you can see Kibo, which is the summit cone and where you'll be headed to in the next couple of days. So as I say, that we've got an acclimatization day today. It's a lava tower acclimatization, which takes you up to 4,500 meters. It's quite a high ascent, quite a quick ascent. And honestly, I'm not sure about you, Ian, but I tend to forget how awful I felt on this day until I'm kind of reliving it. It's a tough day's trekking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, once you get to that point, you usually stop for lunch at the lava tower, which is essentially a volcanic plug. Volcano is dormant, so you don't have to worry about any kind of eruptions whilst you're climbing Kili. But it's a really, really important acclimatization spot. So you go up really high, you stop for lunch there. Most people have started to lose their appetite a little bit. It's really kind of dry, it's getting cold at that altitude. You sort of have, we had hot soup. Do you remember we had amazing hot soup to try and kind of perk us up and keep us hydrated, and then continue down the other side of the lava tower into our campsite. And wonderful, wonderful campsite where you get to see laid out in front of you what's to come next. Now, Ian, do you recognise this photograph here as our campsite and what's behind it?
Yes.
So that's the Barafu wall, yep. Which, it terrifies a lot of people when they first hear about it. The thought of climbing this sheer rock face that you can see in this photograph here, it seems quite terrifying. And being, sleeping in the base of that, rock face and looking at it as the sun goes down, it's quite a lot, isn't it? But you know what? I would say it is one of the most exciting parts of the trek, and would you agree it's one of the most memorable parts?
Oh, definitely is. It was quite satisfying. I think there's a few people that, I've done a bit of rock climbing, but it's probably the biggest scramble I've done. So I did Mount Olympus, and people think, oh, that looks a bit hard. And then with a bit of guidance from the porters, put your hand here, your foot there, and this one got into the swing of it. And there was a really broad range of abilities, so fitness, age, flexibility in our group, and everyone sort of climbed up like troopers.
Absolutely. I think that it was one of those moments where people who were a little bit nervous about it realised what they could overcome, and really face their fears, and just take it head on, and one step at a time. We've had a couple of comments coming in from Facebook. Lynn, who joined me, I think it was 2013, said it was her favourite day and she loved it, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's my favourite part of the trek for sure. One of the other things I love about that campsite, the night stars, and I will just leave that there briefly. There is nothing better than staying on a mountain and having no light pollution. You can see below you in the valley is where the light pollution is. You're way above that. You just get this opportunity to sleep underneath the stars. It is so special. It's really, really beautiful. And then it takes you to the Barranco Wall, 600-foot rock face, where you scrambling up kind of twists and turns around this rock face. You can see here the trails are actually a lot wider than they look from below, so once you get onto it there's a good amount of space for you to clamber up, but you will use your hands and your feet to negotiate around it. And like Ian said at the beginning, you can see in this picture here the porters carrying all of your gear on top of their heads, on their backs, and you're struggling up with just a day pack. So it kind of brings it into perspective that you can absolutely do it if these guys can carry all of your gear up the mountain.
It stops you moaning.
Absolutely, it certainly does. Once you get on the top of the wall though, oh my gosh, the views are amazing. You reach this kind of above the clouds kind of view. It's like you've stepped onto the moon. You can see from the picture here, the clouds are beneath you. It's this rocky kind of plateau, really, really stunning views. Really kind of moonscape-like and remote and just absolutely beautiful. So you continue down through to the Karanga Valley and then up the other side, and you camp in one of the most beautiful campsites where you have this stunning view at the campsite. Is just wonderful. You kind of really feel like you're there. It feels like you can just reach out and touch the summit. It starts to get kind of exciting and real and scary, and it all begins to kind of come together really, this amazing adventure. So your final day of trekking towards your base camp, as it were, Barafu camp, 4,700 meters. You take this kind of rocky trail all the way up very, very slowly at this point. You're walking this very gentle pace, trying to climatize. It's a cold wind that you get on this part is very exposed. It's very hard going at this point. The altitude is high. You're carrying your day pack. You've got warm layers on. It's really getting tough at this point. You dig deep. It tends to be quite a quiet day in terms of chatting because everyone's kind of in the zone and just getting through it, which is really, really fun. And you arrive into your camp and it's very, very barren. You get snuggled up into your tent. You have a bite to eat and come out for kind of tea and biscuits and popcorn and things. And then you're told to get yourself to bed and try and sleep, because at 11 o'clock tonight we're heading up to the summit. And it's that kind of moment, I don't know if you remember this feeling, it's just that kind of, we're really doing it now, we're heading up there, here comes the summit. It's
kind of like that sort of trying to get sleep on Christmas Eve kind of feeling as a kid.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It was really awesome. That's probably the one thing I could change. I could have been sort of knocked out to get some decent sleep. That would have done the world for good.
You're not alone there. The kind of the nervous energy that you experience when you're in that campsite, you're sort of trying not to check your watch, you're trying to just relax and snooze, but it's, let's say 7 o'clock in the evening, you're not ready to sleep yet, so just resting, just being there in your sleeping bag, just trying to calm yourself down and get prepared is all you can do just to get yourself ready for what's to come. And what's to come is quite thrilling and hard work, and the way that I see it is kind of like the second part of the challenge. You head up from the campsite to the summit, and it's a long, long slog in the dark, in the cold, the wind, and it's hard to explain. It's exciting, it's terrifying, it's so challenging. It kind of takes all of your mental energy just to kind of put one foot in front of the other and just keep going as you zigzag up and down this trail that goes along this kind of frozen scree. As the temperature at night time drops way below sort of -10, and then you add the wind chill to that, and you've got kind of really, really cold temperatures that you're dealing with. You've got your head torch on. You can see from this photograph here we had a full moon on the summit attempt, so it was really, really bright, and actually you didn't need too much light from your head torch, which was really wonderful, a really special experience. When the moon isn't out, the stars are out, so that's wonderful. So it's really important to take advantage of those kind of brief moments where you're taking a rest and just enjoy the atmosphere around you. It's just very, very special. Ian, would you agree one of the toughest things you've ever done?
Oh, definitely. And it does feel never ending. I mean, when you actually think about it afterwards, and basically it's like doing Ben Nevis from the base to the top in the day, but 4,000 meters higher, and sort of with sort of half the oxygen, and it just feels like a slow slog. You've got to concentrate. The porters are so supportive. I mean, they put extra summit porters on the evening bit on the summit attempt, and so there was probably more than on our trip. There was more than 1-to-1 porters to trekkers, and sort of and we've been constantly badgered saying, "Do you want your bag carrying? Do you want your bag carrying?" And I kept giving in until I got to about 5,600 meters up and thought, right, this is as high as I got before with carrying your own bag. I'll give it at that point. We were very careful that sort of they lined us up in the order of sort of the slowest to the fastest, the slowest at the front, so they dictated the pace for everybody. I think some of the speed merchants weren't too impressed with that, but I think they would have thanked the porters afterwards.
I completely agree. I think, you know, at that point, it's just so important just to kind of put aside any kind of competitiveness that you might have and any sort of pride you might feel about giving up your backpack or anything like that. At that point, it's all about just getting up to the top and doing everything you can to get up there safely. And you know, the support of the porters and the guides is second to none. You know, you were so well looked after, and they want to see you succeed. They want you to make it as well. So yeah, it's wonderful. Catherine, quick question for you. Does the idea of this sound terrifying, or does it sound exciting?
I think for quite a few people they would be quite terrified, but I'm so excited. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or bad thing, but I think it's good to be excited by it. No, it's yeah, I can't wait.
Absolutely.
Definitely. That sounds like the hardest day, that last bit.
Yeah.
I think.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real kind of test of endurance and that mental strength that you can do it. But, you know, as a team, you know, you get together, you know, beginning at the trip as strangers, and you become so close as you go through the trek that by the time you've reached this point, you're such a tight-knit group and you support each other every step of the way. So you never feel like you're on your own with it. You've got, you know, the support and encouragement of everyone on the team. So even though it's a really, really tough day, you know, you will have that support there, and it's a really nice feeling knowing that you've got those people around you all there for the same goal and trying to achieve that mountain together.
Yeah.
So as you approach, the sun slowly starts to rise behind you. You can see this amazing sunrise over the second peak of Kilimanjaro. Depending on the conditions, you know, there might be a bit of snow underfoot at this point. The sky kind of turns this amazing colours, kind of vibrant reds and pinks, really beautiful. And then you find yourself on the rim of the volcano and at Stella Point, which is just an hour away from the real summit. From that picture there, you can't quite see it, but I'm not sure if you can see my mouse moving, but just about there is where the summit is. You kind of curl around the summit ridge and hit Uhuru Peak, which is the top of the mountain, which you can see here. Ian, I think you're there at the back of that picture, aren't you, in the black jacket?
Yep. Black area.
Looking very, very cool. So this is us, you know, sat there on the summit of Kilimanjaro. A really, really special experience. You can see on the far right-hand side of the picture that the glacier there, which is still there, visible on Kilimanjaro, even you know, with climate change. What an achievement! What a feeling when you reach the top. It's very, very special. You know, it's that kind of moment of. Sorry, my cat's going crazy chasing one of his toy mice. It's one of those experiences that it's that relief and that kind of excitement and just pure exhaustion being up there. Ian, what would you say? How did you experience it?
Yeah, I think I had as fun that I probably should have eaten more of my way up, which is definitely a lesson. Actually, make sure you're just constantly eating. Snacking, even though you actually don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you measured my blood oxygen at the top, and it was a little on the scary side, wasn't it?
It was on the scary side, which is why we don't hang around too long once we're at the top. You know, it is one of those things where we make sure that everyone's got their picture at the top there, individual, group pictures, you know, signs, banners and things like that, but we head down pretty quickly after that. You know, it's a really, really tough day, and you know, this is only half of the day. There's still a lot more to come after you reach the summit, because you've then got to get down to camp. And it's not just down to the camp that you've come from, it's down to the next one after that. So you continue down from there, let me see, down to Millennium Camp, so all the way from 5,895 meters, which is the summit of Kilimanjaro, to Millennium Camp at 2,800 meters. So that's a descent of over 3,000 meters that you will do. And it takes about kind of 5 to 6 hours from the summit to get down to that camp. Now, bearing in mind that you've left camp, the previous camp, at about 11 p.m., you're probably on the summit around about kind of 7 or 8 a.m. And then you've got another 5 to 6 hours after that. You can see that you're looking at a kind of 14-hour day, approximately up to 18 hours, depending on the group pace. It's a long day, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things is, as you're coming down, sort of, even if you're sort of feeling a bit ropey at the top, you do just feel yourself getting better and better as you get down. The legs get less wobblier, and sort of actually start to feel actually sort of more human again.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just a kind of dramatic change as the oxygen levels increase, and you know, when you get to that camp finally, it's such a relief to kind of get into your sleeping bag and have a rest and go to sleep after succeeding on an amazing day. And the following morning, it is an amazing experience again. You can see here, this is the team of porters and guides. We have a celebration, we have songs, we have dancing. It was just wonderful, saying thank you and farewell to them before you then descend down to the gate and head back through the rainforest, again looking out for wildlife along the way, and then signing out of the national park and heading back to the hotel for a well-earned hot shower at this point, maybe a Kilimanjaro beer or two if you fancy it. That evening you'll have a celebratory dinner celebrating your achievements and, you know, reminiscing about the amazing experience that you've had. Have some certificates handed out as well to show, you know, your amazing you know, attempts at the mountain and, you know, your participation in the event, and a good night's rest before heading back to the airport the following day and arriving back to London the following morning. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's the the itinerary basically. And you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it's a very, very special experience. There's lots of things that we can kind of go into. I'm very conscious of time, so we won't kind of go into too much detail, but hopefully that gives you a flavour of what to expect on the trip. One thing I think is quite important to kind of mention is about the porters actually. Sarah, did you have any kind of thoughts on that side of things?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, I mean, it's obviously from your comments and the photos, what a huge support team we have with us, which is part of what sort of really makes the trip, I think, up on the mountain. One thing that has sort of we're very conscious of is how these porters are looked after and the conditions that they're working in and how they're treated. So we're sort of very proud to be members of the Kilimanjaro Porters Association. I don't know, Lexi, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about that from your experience with them on the mountain?
Yeah, certainly. So KPAP, as it's known, Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project, is an amazing organisation which supports the welfare of porters and cooks and support staff on the mountain, and that is essentially doing things that us as trekkers would expect anyway from, you know, the staff. So we'd expect them to be well fed, to have good equipment and, you know, proper meals and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, on Kilimanjaro there are so many unscrupulous operators that are not quite as committed to welfare as we are. So the Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project has kind of sprung up in order to support those individuals that are the lifeblood of the mountain and make sure that they are paid a fair wage, that they are looked after with proper kit and equipment, and that they are given the same standard of care and support that all of the trekkers do as well. And that is so, so important for us. And me personally, having trekked on the mountain now 5 times before, and it's just so important that these guys, you could not do it without them. Ian, I'm sure you would agree with that. You know, tell us a bit about the experience of the porters from your point of view.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, when you think about sort of the when you at the start of each day, they're all packed up and well, you set up nice and relaxed. By the time you've got half an hour into the day, they're already ahead, and sort of by the time you get to the camp in the evenings, all the tents are set up, dinner's cooked, and sort of I think most days they were sort of welcoming us with singing and dancing, and they literally could not do enough for you. And it's like a little mini army operation, quite frankly. And sort of the standard of food they cooked was absolutely incredible. I mean, we didn't get a choice really to the meal. We actually always seemed the cooks always seemed to know exactly what you needed in terms of the mix of carbohydrates and proteins and everything, and actually everyone just wolfed it down. And they were absolutely brilliant. And I say, yeah, you couldn't do this type of trek without them, and sort of you realise just how dependent you are on them, how humbled you are by the experience of actually being with them, and sort of amazing men and women, yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, as well, it's so important as well to point out that, you know, it's not just about, you know, the fact that they're helping you to get your stuff up the mountain and to, you know, achieve the summit, but it's also helping to support the local economy. So essentially they are being paid to do this. It's part of, you know, the makeup of the economy. They're receiving wages which can pay for their family to, you know, be educated and so on and so forth. So it's a really, really important thing that these guys are well looked after, and you know, we are so proud to be one of the few UK operators that are associated with KPAP and the IMEC, International Mountain Explorers Centre as well, which, you know, helps to support that organisation. So yeah, when you're looking to climb Kilimanjaro, make sure that the organiser that you are trekking with is associated with KPAP. You know, do look out for that. If you're not sure, then ask them. It's so important just to make sure that the staff are well looked after all the way through the mountain. So we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but first of all I want to tell you about our Kilimanjaro trip that we've got coming up next year. We are heading out to the mountain, yay, on the 23rd of September to the 2nd of October 2021. Catherine is going to be part of the team, so you know, feel free to join her and experience it together. If you've got any questions about it, if you are interested, then drop us a message, send us an email. You know, we're very, very happy to talk about this with you. Give us a ring. As you can tell, I'm very, very pleased to talk about it. Any excuse is good with me. The trip cost, to sign up, you pay a registration fee of £699, which is payable in instalments, so don't worry about that. And then once you've paid your deposit, you've got 2 payment options. You can either go for a fundraising option, where you can fundraise to raise money for your own chosen charity, any UK charity, or you can pay your final balance yourself. So you've got 2 options on how you'd like to pay for the trip. All the details, you can find those on our website, and hopefully, you know, you're inspired to join us on this absolutely amazing adventure. Sarah, tell us what we're going to be talking about on our next Facebook Live on 4th of November.
So yes, in a couple of weeks' time we're going to be back, and we're going to be talking all about kit, and specifically how to take care of your kit. A lot of people have obviously invested quite a bit of money and bought various bits of equipment for not just Kilimanjaro, but for any of our treks. And we're also often being asked how to take care of it, how to make it last. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, giving a few hints and tips to basically take care of your equipment and your kit.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much, Ian and Catherine, for joining us and sharing your experiences. Ian and Catherine, I'm so excited for you that you get to do this trip next year. Fingers crossed, with COVID allowing, we'll get you there at some point. So if you've got any questions that we haven't covered throughout this this chat, then please feel free to pop them down there in the comments or get in touch with us, like I say. And again, thank you everybody on Facebook for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks' time on Wednesday the 4th of November. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.